Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Slipping Out. In this one we'll be taking a look behind the scenes of the awesome game Mass Effect, including some out-of-bounds secrets you may never have seen before, how the battleships work including Sovereign, how navigating the galaxy map works, of course the huge Citadel, not to mention some of the cutscenes, and where exactly is Shepard standing in the very last scene. It's taken me well over 2 weeks to put this one together, so I do hope you enjoy it. But first of all, we're going to be starting off with the title screen itself. Now, when this game released, I remember looking at this title screen and somehow knowing instantly that I was going to enjoy the game, and I wasn't wrong. I remember thinking how ginormous everything looked and couldn't wait to start exploring the galaxy. Like for instance the Earth here. If we zoom out with the camera we can see just how small the moon is in the title screen compared with the Earth, but I'll do another comparison in just a moment which may just blow your mind. First of all, if we look up and to the right, we can find this, what looks almost like a testing area for the developers. Stood on top, we can find different models of Shepard, both male and female, which kinda made me wonder whether these were used for the character select screen or something along those lines. However, underneath we have what looks like a small section of map with various shapes and sizes of blocks. Plus another model of Shepard standing over in the corner, which is actually movable by using the same character coordinate addresses that are used throughout the game. Anyway, back down to Earth now, and as I said I could move the character model, well, let's do it. Now, as freaky as this may appear, by doing this it gives us another great size comparison, because actually the Earth isn't quite as big as it first seems, which makes the moon even smaller. In fact, it's only about the same size as the N7 logo on Shepard's armour. Now, we're going to see a lot more of these amazing visual illusions throughout the video, but let's move on to the opening scenes.
Well, what about Shepard? Earthborn, but no record of his family.
So we see Shepard stood at this airlock looking out over the Earth, but where is he actually stood? Well, when we take a look, he stood in the middle of space, and it's a flat texture of the Earth that's in front of him. But that isn't the only thing we can see here, because as you can see in the background, we've got one of the mass relays that can be seen in the cutscene. If we go backwards, we've got the interior of the Normandy, where of course all the interior shots are taken. Then if we go further back, we have the planets, which I guess are Neptune and Jupiter, and further back still, we find that this gigantic area is all based inside another skybox which is even bigger. Pretty cool stuff. So just a quick look around the interior of the Normandy from the outside. Now you'll notice that the different areas aren't all loaded up at the same time, as these appear as we walk around and go through different doorways. But here we can see around the windows which we can look out of are some textures, and these change depending on where the ship is docked, as does the skybox in the background.
We should be getting close to Eden.
Captain, we got a problem.
What's wrong, Joker?
Transmission from Eden Prime, sir. You better see this.
Bring it up on screen.
Something a little bit different, and certainly something that I didn't expect to find, is that the images of video transmissions that we see as holograms are floating outside the back of the ship, and when it's their turn to play they kind of just spin and float into position. I don't remember seeing this happen in other games that I've looked at, so I thought it was worth a showing.
We are under attack, taking heavy casualties. I repeat, heavy casualties.
Before the first mission on Eden Prime, there's a cutscene in the hangar which looks as though Eden Prime's skyline is just outside. However, this is just a texture covering the gap. Then outside we can find a huge texture of Eden Prime, and this technique is used during most of the scenes when we see the Normandy flying through space far out from one of the planets. Then if we take a look up to the right, we can see the map itself. A follower on Twitter requested to see a closer look at Sovereign, the gigantic enemy Reaper ship, and when I say gigantic, it really is. We can find this thing hidden underneath the map, before it spawns towards the edge, which is where we see it taking off from. We'll take a look at that in just a moment, but this thing is almost as big as the map itself, and I love how the developers have put the effort into making the ships and the planet feel so huge in this game. So you may have noticed that the ship appears to shrink as it gets higher into the sky, and this is done at various points throughout the game, for instance with the Geth dropships. It certainly looks better than them just suddenly disappearing. If you've played Mass Effect before, you'll know a big part of the game is using the galaxy map to go to different places and planets to explore. If you haven't played the game before, then a big part of the game is using the galaxy map to go to different places and planets to explore. So, let's take a quick look at how this is done. Now, when we take a look at the different systems, we can see they're all slightly different shapes and slightly different coloured nebulas. In this example, I'm going to use the Citadel system first, and then show you what happens after travelling to Hawking Eta. So this is pretty awesome. As we come towards the edge of the Citadel Skydome, we find 3 other Skydomes all next to each other, and these make up the different sections of the galaxy map. As well as above, we still have the interior of the Normandy. So what happens is, as we click to move to the different sections, the camera jumps to the relevant Skydome. In the bottom left is always the Milky Way galaxy map, however the others change depending on where we travel to and what we're looking at the time. Alright, so we're going to take a look at the mighty Citadel, and I suppose the first thing you may want to know is just how far round this thing goes. So, just further out and hidden behind some of the environment, we can see the water turns to a flat texture. In fact, after this there is no more buildings or 3D terrain. Then just further up we can see the end, and here's what it looks like from way outside. There is also plenty to find outside the maps, including hidden aliens, random checkered boxes, which we can find in all the maps in fact, as they probably have different functions, unused switches and assets like these, which look as though they were left over from an elevator or removed doorway behind the council stand, and these things don't just apply to the Citadel. Nearly every mission or map has lots of objects hidden out of bounds, too many to show in the video. However, there are some hidden rooms in the Citadel I'd like to show, as we never enter them, or I certainly couldn't find a way to unlock them. 3 of them are in Chora's den. The first looks as though it's a private dance room. The second and third are near Fist's office and also strangely appear on the map. Now, looking from inside the office, nothing can be seen, and at first glance when we go inside these rooms they look very unfinished, probably why we never enter them. There's certainly no lighting effects inside here, however this gives you a rough idea of how the room would look with lighting. As you can see from inside, it looks as though there was going to be a window through to the office, but then from the office side it's been replaced with this texture. Maybe this was going to be some sort of private VIP section of the club, watched over by Fist himself, or maybe these places even feature in a DLC, which I haven't played, so please let me know if you have ever managed to get into these rooms. At the end of the mission on Noveria, we make a game-changing decision to either kill the Queen of the Rachni or save her and her species from extinction. If you kill her, she gets drowned in acid, and to be honest, you can see this from the normal camera view pretty well. But if you did wonder where she went after setting her free, well, here it is. Yeah, as you probably guessed, she just disappears out of shot. One cutscene which I found particularly interesting is when the Geth dropship detaches from the side of the building on Pharos. Interestingly, the whole of the dropship is outside the map, even though I don't think we see it until the animation begins. And I say this because even when we look at the feet that are attached to the building, this is a separate texture behind the foot than the dropship itself. Also, it's worth noting that the dropship is at the same height level as the room with the controls. That is until the animation starts. Then it teleports way higher on the building and falls back down to the same level. Another great illusion by the developers.
Anderson? What are you doing here? I didn't send...
Let's just take a quick look at how the Great Escape from the Citadel works. The small area you can see underneath the hangar is the interior of the Normandy, again for those parts of the scene. I was also asked to take a look at how the landings on the various planets work with the Macaw. The moon landing was a great place to show this, although the Normandy and the Macaw do teleport around quite a lot. Believe it or not, the landings are done in real time on the maps. They're not pre-rendered like some of the cutscenes. Whilst we're talking about the Macaw, take a look at how it's fired from the conduit on Ilos. During the animations you probably wouldn't even realise it, but it's clearly a giant-sized Macaw that's fired from underground. Once it gets to its peak, again just like the dropships, it sinks back down to its normal size.
Stay out of range and continue evasive maneuvers until I bring those AA towers down.
I know the drill. Meet you at the camp once those towers are offline. Joker out.
Shepard, may I speak with you?
Alright, another viewer submission now, so here is the love scene between Shepard and, in my playthrough, Liara. Now, to be honest, there's not actually much more to see than the in-game camera shows anyway. I think the only thing it doesn't show is Shepard's full model, which, when you see it from the front, is actually a pretty standard male character mesh. So maybe for viewers who haven't seen this before, it could be something new for you, but for viewers who have worked on games or even looked into them, I certainly don't think it's going to be too surprising for you that Shepard looks like this. However, one thing I didn't expect is when Liara looks like she's sat up in bed, she's actually stood on the bed in a squatting position. Now, that does look kind of weird. After this we head on down to Ilos, but first we see a quick animation of the Normandy flying through a relay, and I think this is one of the only times we see this without it being pre-rendered, like when we travel to the different systems using the Galaxy map. So I took this opportunity to try and show you it happening from a distance within the Skydomes. Look out for the little flashes of light as the Normandy passes through. Something rather peculiar that I found whilst on Ilos is this switch, which as far as I can tell we never activate. There is nothing on the map at this point, but next to it looks as though there could be a secret door blended into the wall. It certainly doesn't look like any other doorway on this map. However, when I looked behind here, I had no doubt in my mind that this was going to be used as an elevator at some point. Not only that, but it also looks from the back a lot wider than the usual elevator doorways. Maybe this was discarded, or maybe it still can be activated somehow, I just don't know. I also found another elevator door hidden behind the map further up. Then after a while of playing around, I managed to load a separate section of the map, which made it easier to view. It's almost identical to the elevator in the background, which we do use. Now, I haven't been able to find any information about this online, so if anybody knows anything about it, then please feel free to drop a comment. Alright, so after jumping in the elevator on the ground floor of the Citadel Presidium, we head up to Sovereign. Now, you wouldn't be blamed for thinking this was the elevator we climb out of at the end of the animation, but in actual fact, it's nowhere near the part of the map we end up in. And this is one of my favourite illusions I think I've ever covered whilst making these Slipping Out episodes, because this whole map and all of the cutscenes are filmed horizontally, not vertically, as you're led to believe. So the camera is rotated through 90 degrees to give the illusion of this happening vertically. Kind of like how they filmed the old Batman TV shows whilst Batman and Robin climbed up a wall. It is ingenuity at its finest, and I love how the developers have managed to pull this off.
Saren's locked the elevator. Suit up! We're going outside!
So there we go folks, Sovereign is destroyed, and after our talk with the council we get a shot of Shepard standing tall in space. And if you ever wondered like I did where this was taking place, well, it happens just underneath the bottom of the Citadel. There is also another backdrop which you can just see in the shot there, which I'm guessing maybe you get if you're a renegade or if you take different choices to what I did in my playthrough. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure of the different circumstances of how to get this, but I'm sure one of you will be able to confirm that anyway. So there we go, that is it for this one. Genuinely, if you haven't already played this game, you've got to give it a go. It is fantastic. Sometimes when I'm making these episodes, I get incredibly frustrated having to play the same parts of the game over and over, but I've enjoyed every minute of playing this one again. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you to everyone who's hit that like button. It really makes the effort that has to go into making these videos worthwhile. I'll catch you soon, but until then, as always, take care everyone.